Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan, coming up in the next stop. First, Amrit Snan of the Maha Kumbh, the world's largest religious congregation, taking place today. Millions gather in Prayagraj for the holy dip. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to launch Mission Mausam, marking Indian Met Department's 150th Foundation Day. Firefighters in Los Angeles brace for more trouble as strong Santa Ana winds set to return. Looting adds to the misery of displaced as US President Biden says rebuilding the city will cost billions. Biden says ceasefire deal on the brink of coming to fruition. Negotiators to meet in Doha to finalise plan to end conflict in Gaza after midnight breakthrough in talks.
The war between Israel and Hamas are on the brink of a proposal that I laid out in detail months ago, finally coming to fruition.
South Korea on edge as suspended President Yoon's impeachment trial begins today. Court to decide if insurrection charges will apply against him. All right, we'll begin this edition of DD India News Hour with updates from Maha Kumbh, the largest gathering of humans on the planet. The Maha Kumbh 2025, which began in Prayagraj with chants of bhajans and slogans on Posh Purnima on January 13th, witnessing its first Amrit Snan or the royal bath of akhadas on the occasion of Makar Sankranti. Millions of people gathered in Prayagraj to take a holy dip in Sangam, the confluence of river Ganga, Yamuna and mythical Saraswati. This Maha Kumbh is being held after 12 years, although seers claim that the celestial alignments and cosmic combinations for the event are occurring after 144 years, making the occasion even more auspicious. The Kumbh Mela, one of the largest religious gatherings in the world, continues to draw millions of pilgrims with various rituals, cultural activities and spiritual events scheduled throughout the festival. And Makar Sankranti, celebrated across India with different names and traditions, marks the transition of the sun into the zodiac sign Capricorn. Known as a harvest festival, it symbolizes the end of winters and the beginning of longer, sunnier days. Here's more on the festive spirit.
Makar Sankranti, also known as Uttarayan, Pongal and Lohri in different parts of India, is a festival of joy, harvest and gratitude. The day is marked by colourful traditions, from flying kites in Gujarat to celebrating Pongal in South. The festival holds immense religious significance, the devotees taking dips in sacred rivers like the Ganga and Yamuna, offering special prayers to sun god and seeking blessings for health and prosperity. As the skies fill with colourful kites and hearts with renewed hope, Makar Sankranti is a reminder to celebrate life's transition with joy and gratitude. Down south, Makar Sankranti transforms into Sankranti Sambaralu. In Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, it is celebrated as Pongal and Sankranti Sambaralu respectively. It is celebrated as a 4-day festival where families decorate their homes with rangoli, also called as kolams, and prepare special dishes. Holy dips are a significant part of celebrations in states like West Bengal and Bihar, where the festival is called Posh Sankranti. People gather at riversides to pray and take part in fairs. From north to south and east to west, Makar Sankranti showcases India's unity in diversity, celebrating the harvest, nature and gratitude. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
Showcasing culture, tradition, colours and festivities on the occasion of Makar Sankranti. Renowned of Harsan artist Doordarshan Patnaik, through his unique sand art, showcased the continuity of our rich cultural heritage. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has extended his greetings, sharing a post on X. He wrote, and I quote him, "Many best wishes to all countrymen on Makar Sankranti. May this holy festival dedicated to the Uttarayan sun bring new energy and enthusiasm in your life," unquote. And he also extended his greetings on Uttarayan and we showed you what he wrote. "Have a wonderful Uttarayan. May this festival bring success and happiness in everyone's lives." And the main Magh Bihu kickstarts today all across the northeastern state of Assam. This gastronomical festival celebrates the transit of sun from southern hemisphere to north hemisphere. Therefore, at early dawn, people burnt holy mages, that is bonfires, all across Assam. Various Assamese delicacies are prepared made of new rice harvest. Pithas made of sesame, jaggery, coconut are handcrafted by women and offered to fire god and ancestors. Community feastings, joyous meetings with family and friends fill the hearts of Assamese people with warmth, love and brotherhood. And Prime Minister on X extended his best wishes on Magh Bihu. He wrote, and I quote, "Best wishes on Magh Bihu. We celebrate the abundance of nature, the joy of harvest and the spirit of togetherness. May this festival further the spirit of happiness and togetherness." And excitement fills the air across Tamil Nadu as families celebrate Pongal, the harvest festival. As the sun embarks on its northward journey, households are buzzing with preparations for this 4-day celebration that honors the sun, earth and cattle's role in providing a bountiful harvest. Communities are gearing up to prepare the traditional sweet Pongal dish, a delightful concoction of newly harvested rice, milk and jaggery. The aroma of freshly cut sugarcane and turmeric will soon waft through homes as families gather to observe the time-honoured customs. The festival embodies the spirit of gratitude, bringing families and communities together to celebrate nature's bounty and welcome new beginnings. All right, we'll get you the live visuals of Maha Mela. These are the visuals straight from Prayagraj, where Maha Mela is being held. So this is the second day of Maha 2025. It began yesterday and millions of people are gathered here in Prayagraj to take the holy dip at Maha 2025 in Prayagraj.
जो भी प्रमुख है वो सब इन आध्यात्मिक गुरुओं के सामने अदने साबित होते हैं। जैसा कि हमने सुबह देखा कि जब पहली टोली पहला अखाड़ा
Maha 2025 began in Prayagraj with chants of bhajans and slogans on Posh Purnima yesterday, that is January 13th, and you can see the influx of people there. Millions of peoples throng Prayagraj to take the holy dip today. They are witnessing the Amrit Snan, or the royal bath of akhadas on the occasion of Makar Sankranti. Millions of peoples are gathered here in Prayagraj to take a holy dip in Sangam, the confluence of river Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati. Moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will launch Mission Mausam in a short while from now as part of the events marking the 150th Foundation Day of the India Met Department.
In a landmark occasion, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to launch Mission Mausam, a groundbreaking initiative to make India a weather-ready and climate-smart nation. This transformative program will be unveiled as part of the 150th Foundation Day celebrations of the India Meteorological Department.
There will be first two sessions on early warning for all. There will be one session on the early warning for all in a global perspective, another session on early warning for all national perspective. The objective is to take stock of the current status of weather and climate services in the globe and in the country, the gap areas, and to strategize the plans of actions to fill those gaps and to improve the services for the people.
Prime Minister Modi will also unveil the IMD Vision 2047 document, a roadmap for weather forecasting, climate change mitigation, and adaptive strategies.
We will have a Vision 2047 which will be released, and also that document brings out about the current status and strategy to move in this Amrit Kal to have an India which will be weather ready and climate smart by 2047.
With Mission Mausam and the IMD Vision 2047, India takes a giant leap towards a climate-smart future. Tapas Bhattacharya's report, DD India.
And Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan will attend the 9th Armed Forces Veterans Day event in Akhnur city of Jammu. The event that will honour the Armed Forces veterans and Veer Naris will be celebrated at Tanda Base, where Rajnath Singh will also inaugurate Akhnur Heritage Museum during his visit. The Jammu and Kashmir Cultural Department will present cultural performances reflecting the region's rich cultural heritage. As a special gesture, mobility equipment like motorized wheelchairs, e-scooters and auto rickshaws will also be distributed to the veterans. The event reflects the Army's respect and unwavering commitment to care for the war widows and veterans who served the nation with pride and dedication. And we now get you this report on the relevance of the Armed Forces Veterans Day, filed by DD India's Nandita Dagar.
The Armed Forces Veterans Day is celebrated in India on January the 14th to pay respects to the ex-servicemen for their selfless duty and sacrifices and to reinforce solidarity towards the next of kin of these brave hearts. Wreath-laying ceremonies and veterans rallies are organized all across the country to mark the day. Armed Forces Veterans Day is celebrated on the 14th of January every year to recognize the service rendered by the first Commander-in-Chief of the Indian Army, Field Marshal K.M. Kariyappa, who retired on this day in 1953. The day was first celebrated in 2016 and it is commemorated every year by hosting interactive events in the honor of the ex-servicemen. The Defence Minister usually leads the celebrations by asserting the unwavering commitment of the Indian government towards the welfare of ex-servicemen. But the day also reminds the citizens that it is a collective responsibility of the people to treat the soldiers and their dependents as their own family and ensure that they stand with them always. The bravery, integrity and professionalism of the Indian soldier is respected and recognized not just by the whole country but by the entire world. Sagar Samvad, Vayu Samvedana and Samman magazines are yearly journals published by the Directorate of Ex-Servicemen Affairs of the Indian Navy, Air Force and Indian Army respectively. They relay information, policies and various topics of interest for the veterans. In New Delhi, this is Nandita Dagar for DD India.
And Singapore President Tharman Shanmugaratnam will begin his 5-day visit to India from today. He will be accompanied by a high-level delegation including ministers, members of parliament and officials. This would be Tharman's first visit to India as the President of Singapore. Visiting dignitary will be accorded a ceremonial welcome at the forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan on Thursday. During his visit, President Tharman will hold discussions with his Indian counterpart Draupadi Murmu, who will also host a banquet in his honour. Prime Minister Modi will meet with Singapore President, while External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar and several other Indian dignitaries will call on President Tharman. He will also visit Odisha from 17th to 18th January. India and Singapore have extensive cooperation based on a long tradition of friendship, trust and mutual respect. President Tharman's visit is expected to provide further momentum to bilateral relations, which were elevated to the level of comprehensive strategic partnership in 2024. The state visit will also mark the beginning of the celebrations of 60th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations between India and Singapore. All right, we are slipping into a very short break. On the other side, more stories. Keep watching DD India News Hour.
This week on Defense Dynamics, unravel the secrets behind India's revolutionary CATS warrior prototype. What are these CATS and how will they redefine the warfare? Why is making fighter jet engines still a monumental challenge? We analyze the hurdles. Can Donald Trump bring an end to Ukraine war after January 20th? A geopolitical analysis you can't miss. Updates on India-Maldives defense ties and the evolving dynamics of Afghan-India relations. This Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. North Korea on Tuesday fired an unidentified missile towards the east coast of South Korea. South Korea's military said that North Korea fires an unidentified projectile towards East Sea. The launch came about a week after North Korea fired what it claimed was a new intermediate-range hypersonic ballistic missile, which was North Korea's first missile test since November 5th. The latest launch also occurred days before US President-elect Donald Trump, who held unprecedented summits with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un during his first term and has touted their personal rapport, returns to office. And high-stakes negotiations aimed at ending over 15 months of conflict in Gaza and securing the release of hostages held by Hamas are reportedly advancing. Mediators gave Israel and Hamas a final draft of a deal on Monday after a midnight breakthrough in talks attended by envoys of both outgoing US President Joe Biden and President-elect Donald Trump. Biden said a ceasefire and hostage release deal he had championed was on the brink of coming to fruition, and Hamas said it was keen on reaching an agreement.
Now, the war between Israel and Hamas are on the brink of a proposal that I laid out in detail months ago, finally coming to fruition. The deal we restructured would free the hostages, halt the fighting, provide security to Israel, and allow us to significantly surge humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians who suffered terribly in this war that Hamas started. Israel deserves peace and real security, and the hostages and their families deserve to be reunited. And so we're working urgently to close this deal.
And Joe Biden will speak to President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi soon, as he earlier did with leaders of Israel and Qatar, while another round of talks are planned in Doha on Tuesday morning to finalize remaining details. Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff and Biden's envoy Brett McGurk expected to attend, as they had on Monday. An Israeli official said negotiations were in advanced stages for the release of up to 33 hostages as part of the deal. The United States, Qatar and Egypt have worked for more than a year on talks to end the conflict in Gaza. Now, Gaza's ceasefire proposal focuses on mainly 4 points. Take a look at our next report to know the details. Potential details of the draft agreement includes hostage return, troop withdrawal, increase in humanitarian aid and future governance of Gaza. In the first stage, 33 hostages would be set free. These include children, women, including female soldiers, men above 50, wounded and sick. Israel believes most are alive but has had no official confirmation from Hamas. If the first stage proceeds as planned on the 16th day from the deal taking effect, negotiations would start on a second stage, during which the remaining living hostages, male soldiers and men of military age, would be released and the bodies of the dead hostages will be returned. The deal would also include troop withdrawal, which would be phased with Israeli forces remaining in the border perimeter to defend Israeli border towns and villages. In addition, there would be security arrangements at the Philadelphia corridor along the southern edge of Gaza, with Israel withdrawing from parts of it after the first few days of the deal. Unarmed North Gaza residents would be allowed back with a mechanism to ensure no weapons are moved there. Israeli troops will withdraw from the Netzarim corridor in central Gaza. Palestinian terrorists convicted of murder or deadly attacks would also be released, but numbers would depend on the number of alive hostages. Hamas fighters who took part in the October 7 attack would not be released. The next part of the draft includes increase in aid into the Gaza Strip, which would be significantly increased. Last but not the least, who will run Gaza after the conflict is one of the great unknowns of the negotiations, and it appears that the current round of talks have not even addressed the issue due to its complexity and the likelihood it would hold up a limited deal. Israel has said from the beginning of its campaign in Gaza that it would retain security control over the enclave after the fighting ends and that Hamas can play no role at all. However, there have been discussions between Israel, the United Arab Emirates, and the United States over a provisional administration that would run Gaza until a reformed Palestinian Authority is able to take charge. Bureau Report, DD India. And dangerously high winds returned to Los Angeles on Monday, jeopardizing efforts to contain massive wildfires. Fire crews were able to keep the fires from spreading overnight and are preparing for increased winds in the days ahead. More in this report. As flames rage across California, state and federal agencies are scrambling to protect lives and property. The wildfires, fueled by record heat and dry conditions, have scorched thousands of acres and forced widespread evacuations. However, with strong Santa Ana winds returning, California officials are bracing for new problems. Forecasters say extremely critical fire weather conditions were developing in the region, with winds already gusting to 120 kilometers per hour in parts of Los Angeles. National Weather Service said these will make new ignitions much more likely. As firefighting operations are stretched to the hilt, the authorities are also facing the daunting task to keep looters at bay. The Los Angeles District Attorney has unveiled new charges aimed at holding criminals accountable for exploiting the chaos of the disaster.
Today we're here to announce that the promise that we made when we started this, that these criminals would be arrested, they would be prosecuted, and they will be maximally punished, is a promise we are keeping. As we announced today, the charges being filed on 10 different individuals, 9 of them for looting, in both the Palisades and the Eden fires, and 1 for arson.
While the fires continue to ravage parts of the state, residents remain hopeful as federal and international help pours in. White House has activated emergency response teams with resources allocated to support local fire crews and provide shelter for displaced families. President Joe Biden has pledged immediate federal assistance but added that rebuilding will cost tens of billions of dollars.
You know, although the federal government is going to cover 100% of the cost for the next 180 days for things like firefighter overtime pay, debris removal, temporary shelters, it's going to cost tens of billions of dollars to get Los Angeles back to where it was. So we're going to need Congress to step up to provide funding to get this done. And we're going to get that done, God willing.
Large commercial banks, including JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America, have announced plans to ease mortgage repayment conditions for the afflicted. The entertainment and sports worlds have also stepped up to provide support. 12 Los Angeles pro sports teams on Monday pledged to donate a combined $8 million to support victims and firefighters. Help is also coming in from across the border. Mexican firefighters and equipment have been dispatched to join the firefighting ops.
We are from the Emergency Response Battalion of the Secretary of National Defense and are located in Santa Lucia, state of Mexico. We are specialized rescue troops and we are here to support the population and to give our best to them.
Experts warn that the situation may worsen as climate change intensifies the frequency and severity of wildfires across the region. Bureau Report, DD India. In South Korea, the Constitutional Court will hold the first hearing of suspended President Yoon's impeachment trial. Arguments are due to begin on Tuesday afternoon in a trial to decide the fate of President Yoon Suk-yeol, who was impeached after his short-lived bid to impose martial law through the country into the worst political chaos in decades. The full-fledged hearing will begin exactly a month after the case was filed on the 14th of last month. The Constitutional Court must decide within 180 days whether to remove Yoon from office or restore his presidential powers. Yoon also faces a criminal investigation for alleged insurrection, with authorities seeking to execute an arrest warrant against after he ignored summons to appear for questioning. Separate to the trial, a joint team of investigators from the Corruption Investigation Office, which is probing Yoon over insurrection, and police are preparing a fresh attempt to arrest Yoon. An earlier attempt failed after Yoon's presidential guards blocked access to investigators. If the new warrant is executed successfully, Yoon would become the first sitting South Korean president to be arrested. If eventually convicted in that case, Yoon faces prison or even the death penalty. All right, we'll go across to my colleague Anil Thomas. He has more details on this. He's joining us live. Anil, South Korea looks set for a dramatic political showdown this week as, in fact, today as impeachment proceedings kick off against Yoon Suk-yeol. What do we expect?
Expected lines. 180 days begin today, where this particular constitutional court is going to decide whether, firstly, the former president Yoon Suk-yeol, the decision that he took, especially as a president, whether that's right in the first place. Secondly, does he remain as the president? It's going to be a long drawn battle, if one may see. There are 5 hearings that take place. The first one is today, where Yoon's lawyers have clearly indicated that he's not going to be in court. The second one scheduled on 16th, followed by the third on 21st, 23rd, and the last one on Feb 4th. And a timeline of 6 months to decide the fate of the former president Yoon Suk-yeol. But having said all this, there are precedents where presidents who are on trial or lawmakers who are on trial have not attended these constitutional courts, but yet judgments have come way back in 2004, 2016, 2017. There is precedents of that. But the chief of staff, especially when it comes to the presidential office, has indicated that Yoon Suk-yeol is ready to cooperate in all possible forms, especially when it comes to the Constitutional Court and also when it comes to the investigations that's parallelly on when it comes to matters related to instructions or charges of instruction against him. In that context, it's left open actually. There is political chaos. Remember, South Korea is the 4th largest economy in Asia. What South Korea does has, ramifications across Asia and the world. But all this currently in the political chaos that we've seen in South Korea that's developed over the last 6 weeks, 2 presidents back-to-back being impeached, doesn't leave something good for the South Koreans as well as for Asia and the world in particular. And I think that's where the cause of concern is. Yoon Suk-yeol's lawyers seem to be ready for a long-drawn battle. We'll have to wait and watch how this particular 6-month timeline pans out. And before that, is the chief, the Corruption Investigation Office, who's had one failed attempt at arresting Yoon, are they going once again, making another attempt to attend Yoon and get him, rather in their control?
But a lot can change in 180 days, like you mentioned. But what options does Yoon have now? Political fate in the hands of top court?
Well, very much so. But then, remember 6 weeks of chaos that we have already seen. The decision taken, the decision being overthrown. And the current president who's sitting there, who's rather not ready to, rather wet his shoes in the political muddle that we have seen. He's taken a pretty cautious approach. He's asked for all political parties to come to the table, get something amicable, something that pleases all, which looks unlikely. That leaves the inevitable is that, a judgment is going to come whether he attends the Constitutional Court or not. But the timeline that he has is 180 days. I think he is looking for, support from other countries in the world, especially his supporters on the ground are looking at, Trump coming as the 47th president of United States of America, maybe some pressure being built on the political force in South Korea. But I think all this is just, wishful thinking that his fan base is doing. He's rather connecting, Yoon is connecting with his fan base or his supporters on the ground using social media. And I think he's parked himself in a fortress in Seoul. And that looks unlikely. It's just delaying the inevitable. But in the end, either he getting caught in one of these looks very likely. And I think that's all that Yoon's lawyers are looking to do. They have managed from December. We are almost into the mid of Jan. And if the constitutional judge or the constitutional bench begins its ambit of connecting the dots for the next 180 days, he's found himself in a pretty situation at least till the first week of July.
All right, Anil, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest on that story. We are slipping into a very short break. On the other side, more stories. Keep watching DD India News Hour.
Goa, a wild nature paradise, where over a third of the state remains wild today, and every corner is full of surprises. Goa's forests evolve through the seasons. Insects and crocodiles flourish in the monsoon, butterflies in the months after the rains subside, and in the winter, the jungle transforms into a haven for birds. Oh, there's a female right next to him. Oh my God, is that 8 otters? That's one of my favorite things about these forests. There are still so many secrets out there. Watch Postcards from Goa on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. US President Joe Biden is confident oil prices will stabilize following the toughest sanctions yet on Russia's oil and gas revenues. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan announced on Monday that these measures, the most extensive yet, were crafted to avoid burdening American consumers. Sullivan emphasized that Biden carefully weighed the impact on domestic markets before imposing the sanctions. These actions, he said, are designed to weaken Moscow's position while creating strategic leverage for President-elect Donald Trump's incoming administration in addressing the Ukraine conflict.
The new team is setting up for a negotiation. And in a negotiation, you need leverage. And part of that leverage has to come from the kind of economic pressure that makes Putin see he's going to continue to pay a significant price economically. And so this is also in service of an effective diplomatic outcome that will produce a just and sustainable peace for Ukraine. With respect...
Moldova's Transnistria region is reeling from an energy crisis after Russian gas supplies were abruptly cut off. The New Year shutdown, triggered by Ukraine's refusal to renew a transit agreement, has plunged the pro-Russian region of 350,000 into daily blackouts, leaving homes without heat or water. Prime Minister Alexander Rosenberg revealed exports have plummeted 60%, with metals, machinery and chemicals hardest hit. Imports have fallen 43% and cement exports have ceased entirely. Dependent on free Russian gas as humanitarian assistance, the region's power grid is crumbling. Factories, including a key steel mill providing 35% of the budget, have shut down. Moldova's president has declared a state of emergency, seeking solutions as Transnistria struggles to survive. Now, 6 EU nations have urged the European Commission to slash the $60 per barrel price cap on Russian oil, arguing it would cripple Moscow without disrupting global markets. The G7 imposed these caps to curtail Russia's energy revenues, its primary source of funding for the conflict in Ukraine. In a letter, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia stressed that this is the time to tighten sanctions and amplify their impact. Ukraine's Chief of Staff, Andriy Yermak, insists lower oil prices directly weaken Russia, reducing its arsenal. With global oil supplies steadier than in 2022, the nations argued that Russia, heavily reliant on energy exports, has no choice but to sell at the lower prices. Germany, Poland, Britain, France and Italy have vowed to swiftly meet NATO's ambitious new targets for weapons and troops, German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius announced on Monday. The decision, tied to a June NATO summit in The Hague, reflects the alliance's urgency amid escalating security demands following Russia-Ukraine conflict since 2022. NATO's Military Committee Chair, Admiral Rob Boyer, revealed the timeline was accelerated to summer, providing members critical time for implementation. Pistorius welcomed the change, calling it a crucial step forward. With internal tensions brewing, US President-elect Donald Trump has urged members to boost military spending from 2% to as high as 5% of the GDP. Meanwhile, Poland's defense minister said that the next meeting of the Group of Five in Paris would discuss how to finance the organization and the development of the arms industry in Europe. Now, Iran and European powers met in Geneva on Monday under a shroud of secrecy to discuss Tehran's nuclear program just a week before US President-elect Donald Trump takes office. Few details were revealed about the topics discussed on Monday, but both sides said they were constructive and that the parties agreed to carry them on. It was the second round of such talks in less than 2 months, following a discreet meeting in Geneva last November between Tehran and the three European powers, Britain, France and Germany, known as E3. Iran's new agency reported that Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Majid Takht-Ravanchi met his counterparts from the E3. Later, Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister for International Affairs, Qasem Gharibabadi, described the talks as serious, frank and constructive. Now, Greenland looking to strengthen its defense and mining ties with the United States, albeit on its own terms, following renewed interest from US President-elect Donald Trump. Greenland Prime Minister Mute Egede said his government was looking for ways to cooperate with the United States and that it was ready to start a dialogue with Trump's incoming administration, but stressed it would be up to it to decide how it should proceed. Egede has summoned the leaders of Greenland's political parties to a meeting in the special nuke to discuss a collective approach to the US interest. Donald Trump, who takes office on January 20th, last week returned to an idea floated during his first term of acquiring the strategically important and mineral-rich Arctic island and described US control of Greenland, a semi-autonomous Danish territory, as an absolute necessity. Now, fissures in the bonds of friendship between India and Bangladesh keep coming up since the interim government took over in Dhaka. On Monday, India summoned Bangladesh envoy to South Block over border fencing issues. At the same time, India's army chief has said that the relationship with China is sensitive but stable and added there is no animosity with Bangladesh at a military level. Daily India's Anil Thomas has the details.
A day after the interim government of Bangladesh expressed deep concern about the prevailing situation along the India-Bangladesh border, India summoned the Deputy High Commissioner of Bangladesh, Mohammad Nurul Islam, over border issues to South Block. The acting commissioner was in unequivocal terms explained that India observes all protocols and agreements between the two governments and between the Border Security Force and Border Guard Bangladesh. India conveyed its expectation that all earlier understandings will be implemented by Bangladesh and there will be a cooperative approach to combating cross-border crimes. Earlier, the Indian High Commissioner Pranay Verma said he and the Foreign Secretary discussed Indian commitment to ensuring a crime-free border, effectively addressing the challenges of smuggling, movement of criminals and trafficking.
We have an understanding with regard to fencing the border for security. Our two border guard enforcements, BSF and BGB, have been in communication in this regard. We expect the understanding will be implemented and that cooperative approach to combating crime.
Meanwhile, the Indian Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi has said that the situation on Indian northern border is sensitive but stable. In a press conference, General Dwivedi said there is no animosity with Bangladesh at a military level.
As of today, firstly, there is no vulnerability from any side. I am in touch with the Chief of Bangladesh during the time of when this changeover took place. I was in constant touch with him, and even thereafter in November 24 we had a video conference also. As far as the military cooperation is concerned, is again going up in the same way. Our officers have moved there for the NDC also. There is no let up on that side.
The India-Bangladesh border is one of the longest shared borders in the world and has been a focal point of bilateral relations for decades. The ties between India and Bangladesh need urgent attention. They need to resolve the border issues and uphold peace along the 4,096-kilometer border. With Naval Sangh Parmar in Dhaka and my colleague Amrit Singh, Anil Thomas, DD India, New Delhi.
And New York traffic fell on Monday after $9 congestion fee that came into effect on January 5. According to the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, 273,000 fewer cars entered the central business district from Monday to Friday. With the traffic dropping to 7.5%, the congestion fee, the first of its kind in the US, charges car drivers up to $9 a day with varying rates for other vehicles. The congestion zone covers an area south of Central Park, taking in such well-known sites as the Empire State Building, Times Square and the financial district around Wall Street. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. The UK government would consult on proposals to ban bodies running essential public services and critical national infrastructure from making ransomware payments. The ban would aim to cut the flow of ransom payments to organized cybercrime groups, as well boost intelligence gatherings to target and disrupt them. A ransomware attack last June led to major disruption at London hospitals. Top secret MI5 files detailing first-hand accounts of confessions of 3 of Britain's most notorious double agents were released for the first time in London. Agents including Kim Philby and Anthony Blunt, along with Guy Burgess, Donald MacLean and John Cairncross, part of the Ring of 5, spied for the Soviet Union. Some of the files will form part of a special exhibition at the National Archives titled MI5 Official Secrets, featuring case files, photographs, papers and equipment used by spies in the agency's 115-year history. Revelers dance and capered, wearing masks and costumes through the streets of the North Macedonian village of Vevkani in an annual carnival that falls on the beginning of Orthodox New Year. The carnival not only celebrates the start of New Year according to the Julian calendar, it also marks a long tradition to chase off the spirits of winter. A news just coming in. South Korea's Constitutional Court adjourned the first session of arguments in an impeachment trial to decide the fate of suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol, ending the session in minutes after Yoon did not attend. The court is expected to hear more substantive arguments in the next session due on Thursday. So big news coming in here. South Korea's Constitutional Court has adjourned the trial's first session, and the Constitutional Court must decide within 180 days whether to remove Yoon from office or restore his presidential powers. So Yoon also faces a criminal investigation for alleged insurrection, with authorities seeking to execute an arrest warrant after he ignored summons to appear for questioning. So this is the big news coming in, that impeachment trial to decide the fate of suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol. So we are talking about the impeachment trial of South Korean ex-president Yoon Suk-yeol. And the dollar hung near its highest in more than 2 years on Tuesday as traders scaled back US rate cuts in 2025 after strong economic data, while investor worries about Britain's fiscal health kept frail sterling in the spotlight. With President-elect Donald Trump set to step back into the White House next week, the focus has been on his policies that analysts expect will boost growth but add to price pressures. The threat of tariffs, along with the Federal Reserve's stated measured approach to rate cuts this year, have lifted treasury yields and the dollar, putting the euro, pound, yen and yuan under pressure. And electric car sales rose by 25% globally in 2024, surging in China but slowing in Europe. According to figures published by the British consultancy Raw Motion, a record 17.1 million battery electric vehicles were sold last year across the world. In Europe, including Britain, Iceland, Norway and Switzerland, sales slipped by 3% to 3 million vehicles after 4 years of strong growth. In an overall declining market, in Europe, hybrids took the largest market share at the expense of petrol and diesel vehicles. Electric vehicle sales also rose in the United States and Canada, climbing 9% to 1.8 million vehicles. Now, US President Joe Biden unveiled sweeping restrictions on AI chip exports on Monday, aiming to curb China's access to advanced technology. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo emphasized the need to maintain US dominance in AI development and chip design as these technologies increasingly power AI and weapon systems. The new rules impose strict controls on exports, re-exports and transfers of AI chips with exemptions for US allies. AI data centers must also meet heightened security standards, and sharing cutting-edge AI models faces tighter restrictions. While Beijing condemned the measures and the EU expressed concerns, the White House defended them as crucial for global security. The rules take effect in 120 days, leaving room for President-elect Trump to amend them. Sports updates now. We'll start with Kho-Kho. The Indian men's team defeated Nepal in the opening match of inaugural Kho-Kho World Cup at the Indira Gandhi Indoor Stadium on Monday. Before the clash, India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia and IOA President P.T. Usha were among the high-profile personalities that attended the star-studded opening ceremony. Led by captain Prateek Vaikar, India got off to a brilliant start in the tournament as it registered a comfortable 42-37 victory over Nepal. India is set to clash against Brazil on Tuesday. Meanwhile, in the women's section, the host will kick off its campaign against South Korea. Cricket now. India will face Ireland in the third and final Women's One International in Rajkot on Wednesday, aiming to complete a series sweep after 2 dominant victories. In the first ODI, Prateek Rawal and Tejas Hasabnis led India to a 6-wicket win with the crucial 100-run stand. The second ODI saw India post a massive 370-run total with Jemima Rodrigues smashing a century. Deepti Sharma led the bowling attack to restrict Ireland to 254. With captain Smriti Mandhana leading from the front, India will look to maintain their winning momentum. And South Africa has announced their squad for the ICC. We'll come back to this story, but let's go across live. Alright, these are the visuals that we are playing from Bharat Mandapam, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be attending the celebrations of 150th Foundation Day of India Met Department. So this is the exhibition. You can say Prime Minister Narendra Modi is taking part in the 150th Foundation Day of India Met Department. So PM Modi is visiting the exhibition. In fact, talking to them, and the department is explaining Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the occasion of 150th Foundation Day of the IMD, that is India Met Department. So the event will be an important milestone in the country's journey towards becoming a weather-ready and climate-smart nation. During the event, Prime Minister Modi will launch Mission Mausam, an ambitious initiative to significantly enhance India's capabilities in weather forecasting, climate monitoring and disaster management. The mission will focus on the development of cutting-edge technologies such as next-generation weather radars, high-resolution atmospheric observations, satellites and advanced high-performance computing systems. So, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a short while from now will launch Mission Mausam and celebrate the 150th Foundation Day of India Meteorological Department IMD, highlighting advancements in weather forecasting and climate resilience for India's sustainable future. And before the launch, he is visiting the exhibition and also talking to the department, people of the department. Important milestone this event is in the country's journey towards becoming a weather-ready and climate-smart nation. An ambitious initiative to significantly enhance India's capabilities in weather forecasting, climate monitoring and disaster management. And the mission will focus on the development of cutting-edge technologies such as next-generation weather radars, high-resolution atmospheric observations, satellites and advanced high-performance computing systems. Talking about Mission Mausam, which is the latest initiative, involve equipping India to predict the weather in a much better way, monitoring climate changes and then delivering an up-to-date understanding of future challenges to the environment, thereby helping to contribute to sustainable development in the nation. So it will greatly focus on the understanding of weather and climate processes with a perspective on monitoring the air quality for long-term weather management and intervention. Other topics to be unveiled by Prime Minister Narendra Modi includes the document of Vision 2047, suggesting strategic plans for resilience to weather changes and adaptation to the climate change in India. And this very thorough framework insists that the timely implementation of forecasting systems, adaptations in climate strategies and measures for coping with the impacts of climate change are vitally important to ensuring that the country is prepared for future environmental challenges. So, Prime Minister Narendra Modi talking to the individuals of the department on the 150th Foundation Day of the Indian Met Department. that is IMD, taking part in the celebrations of the achievement of the IMD, that is 150th Foundation Day. And the Foundation Day of the Alert Center was marked by a series of celebrations, including events, workshops and events to mark the importance of the country during the long days of the India Met Department in the last 150 years through this institution. So on what role the IMD has played in the last decade, since as an essential weather data provider, be it agriculturists, disaster managers, as well as active disaster prevention, the role of the IMD in enhancing India's climate resilience has been more noticed.